I believe a pool cue is the same as a stringed instrument. It should have a tone to it. There's a reason why we use the same woods that are in guitars, violins, and pianos. There's a resonation to it. I want to feel that resonation when I strike a ball, that crisp snap. Man, there's nothing better than that. I'm Kevin McLean, and I build Gold Rush cues.
Hey guys, welcome to day 4 of Moscone Cup. This is the Dogness Show, brought to you by Fort Worth Billiards and a whole bunch of other sponsors that helped us to get here. Boys, I'm really looking forward to today. It's like such an exciting moment. We're within reach for the USA. At the same time, there's a lot of work to be done. What do you guys thinking for today, Melina?
We're going to break down each match, but I tell you, just when I woke up and saw the lineups posted by Matchroom Pool, it took me a few hours to even pay attention to the European side because I loved the American side, and that's all I could really focus on, to be honest with you. So, I'll say you, Mike.
No, it's an interesting lineup for today. I think this is the day where the captains do try to guess what the other one's going to put as a lineup goes, but keep beating the dead horse. We need to get to 11. You need to get 2 wins out of Tyler, Oscar, and Earl in singles. So that's a tall order, but that's what's got to happen for them to win today.
Well, first things first, right? Got to happen. They have to get a win in that first one. I mean, I'm thinking that the first one has to be a win. No?
Yeah. Well, you got to figure a favorite because it's going to be Skylar and Shane. Because Earl
the guys who just put a 5-0 on Jason and Josh.
Right. So you got to feel good, and you do need that one. You can't go 3 deep, 3 behind at the start of the day. So they need that one, and I'm not surprised then that they followed up with Skylar, one of the 2 players with a singles match right after that. So you got to like your chances here. Alex, I think, played a little game by putting David second, by putting David as the first singles match and protecting Jason and Josh for what he would think would be, easier matchups. So you got a really pretty good chance of starting the day with 2 wins and being at 8-8, and then it's a race to 3, and then the crowd becomes a huge factor in throwing pressure on people.
I mean, David's been the X factor since before the Moscone Cup. There's been talk about him, how he was going to perform. He's had lows, but I tell you, he ended up on a really big high, getting a big W yesterday in the early part of the day against Tyler. The guy was breaking phenomenally, similar to how Jason ended the day yesterday for Team Europe. But going up against Sky, it's no easy task. But if I like an underdog, so to speak, taking on one of the heavy hitters on Team USA, I like this matchup given how he ended his singles matchup yesterday. David.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about yesterday, because in the beginning of the day, that first match was the Fans' Choice doubles match, and Shane and Earl pull it out. This place erupted. It was so much energy. The fans were really excited, really into it. But then right after that, I couldn't believe it. 40% of the crowd left. And I think it has something to do with the timing, right? It turns out that it was like 12:30. I'm sure people were ready to have their coffee or breakfast or their 5th beer, whatever it was. Right. But at that time, that arena was kind of dead at the start of the Tyler match against David. And I think that really hurt because it was a chance for those fans. And I've been a little bit disappointed the whole time with how the fans have kind of let David off the hook a little bit. This was a great opportunity to really get under his skin, I think. And I say this, I like David. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's a great player.
No, Red, come out with some fire, man.
Well,
stand by it.
Like
stand by
every
it.
single, like if he screws up position by 2 inches, the fans should be yelling Fedor. They should be all over him, right? Because that's what this is about.
He played terrible on that doubles. Terrible in that doubles. He was awful in that doubles.
That's when they should have punished him, was during that doubles match, and then it might have carried over into that singles match. And yeah, the crowd kind of like left after that first match, and I think it's because they get in early. They're all pumped up. They're fired up. The first match was a big deal, and the roof came off the place.
The passion in that room.
And then they kind of exhale and they go take
their
bathroom break or whatever.
Well, they got to go re-up, right? They got to get another beer.
That's right.
And
so that but David, I don't know. He came out in that match and just played perfectly after playing so lousy the match before. It was like
unbelievably did he play against Tyler.
And I guess my point is if 2,500 fans are in there screaming and shouting and realizing. I think the U.S. fans kind of saw that first one and they're like, oh, okay, we're back in it now. I can go take a break. And then the Tyler, I think Tyler, had 2 breaks in the first 4 games? That's the only shots he had.
He was probably the best
and David
breaking the balls out of anyone up until that point.
Yeah, so strange. And the great part about it is, even though Tyler was trailing, he gets back in it, winning 2 games, and you would have thought he was up 4-2 when he was getting everybody fired up. And
yeah, he's really been very vocal, very animated the last couple days. I think some of that stems from the little altercation that they had.
Without a doubt.
So then yesterday he milked it even more. He was down 4-0. He was getting ready to go on the 9-ball to make it 4-1, and you would have thought that he had just won the world championship. So
it was a lot of needling,
yeah,
and he called the shot whenever we had him on with Jeremy the day before. He said, I got something for him, and that's what he had for him. I think at 4-0, it's like, all right, maybe if you were 4-0 up, that'd be one thing, right? But at 4-0 down and you're getting 1, I liked getting in David's head. David was the ultimate professional in that spot, because I don't know if I would have been that level-headed had someone did that shit to me. So my hat's off to him for doing that. He really stood tall after coming up completely short. I felt like up until that point.
Yeah, I mean, he bounced back like a pro. I mean, he's experienced and he's got a lot. He knows how to handle those situations. So he just popped back in and.
We got a special guy.
I just wanted to ask a question. Is this too much?
Well, have a seat. Let's let the people in there. Yeah, it looks good. It looks good.
I can sit down. I'm scared it's going to pop. Hang on.
In slow motion.
Wow.
Is it too much?
No, it looks good.
Yeah?
It looks good. Yeah, your hair looks great too.
I'm in Vegas, aren't I?
Oh yeah.
Well, the lights are going to reflect off that. I hope it doesn't bother the shooters.
Well, I did say that to Team Europe. I said, "Let me know if I'm in your eye line."
Yeah, that's good.
It is quite sparkly, isn't it?
It's very Vegas.
Is the fans' choice been released yet?
I know who it is.
So who is it? Come on,
I
everyone's
can
here.
tell you.
Everyone, we
We're
got.
announcing it live on Sky.
Is that right? Right now?
No, live.
What besides? Well, we know who the USA team's going to be. It's a no-brainer. Well, it's going to be
Sky.
Shane and Sky, 100%, without a doubt.
That was an easy one.
Well, all I'm going to say is that you're incorrect.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. So Tyler and Sky then? No. Wait a minute. It's no. So how can it not be Shane and Sky? They just put a 5-0 on Jason and Josh.
So did the Europeans stuff the ballot box?
Yeah, they gave me like $1,000, and they were like, I was like, yeah. No, I don't know. I was just trying to mess with your heads.
Yeah, well,
I don't know what it is.
You put him on tilt.
Oh yeah, you don't know who it is. Right.
In a real hurry.
We're not buying that.
I don't know anything. I just walk around in my suit.
Well, I mean, I hope they have like a nice runway out there today for you to be able to parade back and forth from the table back to
I'm going to go
the VIP
practice
area.
it now. I was like, maybe I should change my trousers. Is it a bit too much? And I was like, nah.
No. It's never loud enough.
You're going to have to put up one of those like stand-up things that you can just lean again because you're not going to be sitting down and standing up a lot today.
No, I'm not.
No, it's not going to happen.
Just going to do this.
What's the score going to be today, Emily?
10-all.
Oh, come on.
10-all captain's pick. Who are you putting out there?
Yeah.
10-all captain's pick. I'm putting.
Is it
Skylar.
They can pick anyone, right?
You're putting Skylar against your Alex.
Al-Kaidi or Jason.
What? Oh, believe me. If you're Team
Alex,
USA, Team USA, you want David out there.
Yeah, no.
100%.
If it's 10-10, he's putting Jason out 100%.
You think so?
Yes,
think so?
100%.
I think so too.
I don't know.
I mean, he's been selling. I mean, he's been pitching the whole Jason's the higher team. Jason's the guy who lives for these moments. He's made for this team. If you're going to back that up, you're not going to pick Josh.
With the way he ended yesterday against Oscar, I don't blame him.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
Although
here's the thing. Here's an interesting thing. He's playing the last singles match today, Jason.
Well, if it gets that far, Albin is. Yeah.
Okay. Come on, guys, get your stats together.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll leave you guys to it. I just wanted you guys to make sure you're happy with my suit.
Well, I mean,
no, it looks great.
Chime in. Other people on the chat should chime in and say thumbs up or thumbs down on the outfit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's have live polling. This is like fans' choice of outfits.
Fans' choice. Is this okay?
Yeah.
You should have come in with 2 or 3 outfits, and we would have had a fans' choice.
No, you're great.
Never a problem.
No, it's going to be an exciting day. Yesterday was the USA, I think, kind of stole a couple there. For my money. If you would have told me at the beginning, I think Shane and Earl get the W, I would have said no. And I thought 5-1 was going to be the number. It kind of swapped around for me. I thought Tyler had a good chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, 6-8. It's not the end of the world. They got a puncher's chance.
They're within reach, which I think if you would have asked them kind of at the start of this, if you're going to be trailing, what's a reasonable amount you're trailing where you could still get back into it? I think 2 games is it on day 4. But they have to get off to a strong start. And you came down to the scenario, which happens in team matchups a lot, right? Do you hold your better players till the end? But if you do, what happens if they never get the chance to play? Right, I've been on a lot of teams where they want me to be the anchor, and I'm the better player on the team. They're like, "You're
must
the
be
anchor."
a sad team.
They weren't good teams. Let's get
Wait
that
a
straight.
minute.
They weren't good teams, but they're like, "Hey, we want to save Joey for the anchor," and I'm like, "What if I never get the chance to play?" And so I think that's the position that Jeremy's in. Right, he's looking at the possibilities, and he was saying, "Hey, if we hold Skylar, if we hold Shane, then what if we lose?" Just by a couple games, and they could have had a chance to make a difference. And so I'm not surprised by this lineup from USA. They had to go big early. And I like having Oscar in that last match of the day.
Are you buying that it's not going to be Shane and Sky?
No, it's Shane and Sky 100%.
I think, I don't see how.
She was just playing with your head.
Yeah, I don't know. That just got me curious.
You have the day 3 up. It's not Oscar who's the last one. Day 4 is Earl. Earl is the last one up today, right?
For the final day, yes.
Yeah.
Earl's up last, which
Against
is an
Alvin.
interesting. Jeremy, I think, is hoping that he can get it done before it gets to that last match. He's got to be banking on that, because he can't be hoping that at 10-9 behind, that Earl is the guy that's going to get him to that captain choice.
From someone,
can't be thinking that.
From someone who's watched a lot of sports and has seen storylines and like special moments come up time and time again, this sets up, and I may be biting my tongue and look like an ass, here in a couple hours, but for me, it sets up for a 4-0 win for Team USA to be at 10-8. And then, who knows what could happen at that point.
Amazing.
But I think, listen,
can you imagine that?
I think it sets up that way where it's got that kind of possibility. But you never know. Sports are weird like that, and you guys watch enough of it. But I just feel like this reminds me of like the World Championship and seeing Shane beat all these guys who have beaten him at one point or another in big tournaments. This reminds me of just how special the game can really be.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this lineup, and the thing that kind of jumps out to me is the third match of the day. That to me could be the make or break match for both teams. Jason Shaw, he's been a thorn in the U.S.'s side. How he plays out here under pressure.
Right.
This was the event where it seemed like he just didn't quite have that edge this year. And then he comes out and plays a great match, yesterday. So
at the end of the day, yesterday, he was lights out.
Yeah.
So,
broke phenomenally, Mike.
And you're right. That's a key match, because I really expect the U.S. to be tied 8-8 going into that match. And if that's the case, if it's 8-8 and Shane and Jason walk out into that arena, this place is going to be on tilt.
Yeah. And look at the match after that, right? You have Tyler, who's been playing well for the U.S., against Josh, whose last experience at the table was bricking a ball down in that corner pocket. Josh did not play well in his last time at the table.
I don't think it wasn't a matter of him not playing well. He just never got any chances.
What do you mean?
Against David? He didn't play.
Josh?
No, I'm talking about Tyler. I'm sorry.
No, I'm talking about Josh.
Oh.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, his last was that
slip-ups.
doubles match where he shot that 6 ball, I think it was, and missed it by about 3 inches.
Come on, man. You think he's
Yeah.
worried about that today? That's already way.
Well, no, I
that's,
just
yeah.
bring in doubt, though. If Jason can't get it done, now the pressure mounts on Josh.
Josh steps up, man. I mean, Josh stands tall
but he
constantly.
does, but especially if the U.S. wins the first 2, then whoever wins that third match puts his teammate in a huge advantage in the fourth match.
Yes.
Right. So if Shane beats Jason, Tyler comes in geeked up. If Shane loses to Jason, then Tyler comes in with a lot of heat on him, and Josh is freewheeling.
I could argue either side of it, right? You can have David, who has gotten all this ridicule and has been the on the bad end of for myself and others, as far as him not maybe belonging there, he's got a chance to beat, the head guy on Team USA, because Tyler is Team USA's number one. I don't care what anybody says at this point. And I agree with what Mike said earlier. If it comes to a captain's pick, it's going to be Sky. It ain't going to be Shane out there. I guarantee you. And on the other side of it, Tyler against Josh. Listen, I don't think Tyler's scared of that matchup. And I don't think Josh is thinking that he's stealing in that matchup either. Now would it surprise me if Josh demolished Tyler 5-1, 5-2, 5-0? No, it wouldn't, because he's Josh and he does these kinds of things at the Moscone Cup. But Tyler, kind of like David did yesterday, can stand tall also.
Yeah, our one of our followers on YouTube, Mike Check, always comes in with good takes. He says that second match is key. If Sky loses, then it's a good chance USA is going to fall from there.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, that would take a lot of wind out of the sails for sure. So that's
the first two are massive, because it's about the psyche of Shane. I feel like, if Shane goes in there at 8-8 against Jason, it's completely different versus being at 10-6, obviously.
Emily really scared me when she was.
We shouldn't have answered the door. We shouldn't have answered the door. Number one.
Yeah, we shouldn't.
Like,
So next time someone knocks, don't answer. But here's the other thing. Shane's going to be playing with some extra incentive today, right?
Yeah.
We did get news this morning that his grandfather passed away, who was his inspiration for years and years and years. And so, Shane's going to be coming in with a heavy heart, but he's going to be trying to win one for Grandpa Gary.
He did say as much. He said, "I'm going to go out there and win it for him." So I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. And
yeah.
Our condolences to him, but he's going to play with passion. We've seen it in sports, man. I've watched, I remember watching football and watching Brett Favre, on that Monday Night Football, in Green Bay all those years ago. And
when his father passed.
Yeah, special things can happen, man.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting day for sure. Yesterday was an interesting day. I do want to talk about the interview that we had with Jason Shaw. One of the things that happened with that, Pinozo missed it. He was at the George Strait concert. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I didn't get an invite, but hey,
we did not get an invite. When
the king's in town, you got to go pay your respects.
So Jason comes in here and he sits down, and it was a completely different Jason than from the press conference. In fact, we had people commenting on it like, wow, he really did show the U.S. respect. He made some comments like the fact that he's not surprised that it's this close. There was trash talking in the press conference, but, he knew the fans would give this team a lift. He knew races to 5, it's possible. And I just felt like that interview, he came out looking really good in that interview. And it's cool because we've talked to him before, and as brash and as like dancing around the arena as he can be and really showing up the other team, deep down inside, he's not a bad guy.
Jason's a really sharp individual, and he knows the importance of promoting a fight. He's a UFC fan, right? He can play that role. He can play the heel, but if you know Jason, I've become, somewhat friends with him over the last few years. He's a really good guy, and he's passionate, but he also does give respect words to. And when you talk to him, he would have had that same response had it been off camera or on. That's just how Jason is, because I've had a lot of candid conversations with him. But yeah, no, I don't think, as much as he wanted to get in their head, and I think that's important for like the chess battle, the mental chess battle when it comes to these types of things. I don't think Jason thought he was stealing, and I think he does respect a lot of these guys. I think that they surprised him some because they didn't think it was going to be this volatile at times. But he knows he's in a fight, and he knows he's going to have to close. And if there's one guy you want to be closing for you, how can you not like Jason Shaw at the Moscone Cup?
Yeah, he's he does have that. He knows how to handle that arena and his team and the crowd, and so he can be that that black hat, and he can turn things. He can get really, almost nasty in the arena, but it's part of what he thinks he needs to do for his team in the moment, against the crowd, against momentum, against the whatever. And then you're right. You pull him off to the side later and talk to him, and he's a completely different. He knows how to dial it back into being realistic about who he's playing. They're not chumps. They're not dogs.
Well, I think that's why Alex chose him as a vice captain, because he knows Jason can fade it, and he knows he can embrace it. I think Jason can embrace it for the sake of making sure nobody else has to deal with that shit, right? That way they don't have to go after the Davids or the Friends or the Joshes or anyone else, because Jason is mentally tough enough to be able to stand chest tall.
I'll take the heat. Bring it on me and leave my other pals alone.
And
realistically, you talked about it before, Joey did. The fans have let David off the hook. They haven't jumped on Francisco. They haven't, they get so wound up about Josh and Jason that the other guys are getting a free pass.
Yeah, that's a great take. One interesting
I think he's that aware too.
Yeah. One interesting thing I want to share with the folks at home, one of the reasons that we do this is to promote the sport, right? We want to see more fans here. We were talking yesterday about the 2,500 fans and how big could this thing get. And Melina and I are walking around the arena this morning, and we walked out and took some footage of the arena. And there's a group of security guards that are all kind of together planning out the day. And a couple of them were new, and they hadn't been here the last few days. And this one security guard is kind of sharing with them, hey, here's what's going to happen. And let me tell you, there was this play, this shot yesterday where before the game was even over, talking about this, I think it was Skylar, right?
Celebrating on the 8-ball.
Everybody rushes down to like a concert. They like rush to the side of the arena. Sky walks over, like I think Pinozzo said, he grabbed the American flag, stuck it in his pocket, walks back, shoots a 9-ball in. But it was so interesting to hear these guys talking about the excitement in this room. They're not typical pool fans. I asked every one of them, I said, have you guys shot pool? Yeah, we used to love shooting pool. We play ping pong, pool, all that stuff. And if you think about it, this is what our sport needs. We need the people who have played this game, beat some balls around a table to experience what's happening out there right now, the excitement that's happening out there right now. And the more that we can do that, the more we can push it out there, the more this sport's going to grow.
I mean, this is my first time here, and I'm loving it. I'm already a pool fan. Rotation can be tough at times for me, but this is something special. I think if they can find a way to like bottle this up and put it on every weekend for me, sign me up, man. It's like, it reminds me of sports. It reminds me of any other sport, the passion, maybe not like baseball, because baseball sports fans can be a little tough at times, but like the football, or basketball, people are passionate. They're rooting their team on, they're oohing and awing. And, it's so crazy. The craziest part for me is at certain points throughout this event, and we've been up top, where it can be so loud and the whole room is vibrating. And then when it's a tough shot and people know and respect it, it gets dead silent. I mean, literally the entire room holds their breath.
You could hear a pin drop.
It's cliche, but it's true.
Yeah, that expression, I've never experienced it to that degree, right? Ripping and roaring, fans going crazy, and within like 5 seconds, it goes down to dead silence. It's really an interesting.
I want it to get to the point where they can scream when the guy's shooting. It should be like free throws in basketball, where there's 2,000 people right behind the backboard waving signs.
Hey, that'll be next year in Europe.
And listen, I watch a lot of college basketball, and I've seen a lot of games where they have this girl in the crowd who is just like a shriek of a scream, as they're shooting the free throw. Imagine if they did that while they're down the 9-ball. People would lose their mind.
How about those clapper things?
Yeah. Oh, wait, that's what I mean, though. And it kind of reminds me, pool players can be a little soft sometimes, but, yeah, what are you going to
do? What are you going to do? Yeah. Folks, some folks tuned into the chat, and they're asking if we're actually going to show the match. No, we don't show the match here. You can check that out on DAZN. It's available in the app stores in the United States. You can go download that app. It's $20 a month, or you can get a year, I think, for $100 or somewhere
200.
Right around 200.
Yeah, $199.
Oh yeah, 200 for the year. But what? It's really worth it.
$199 for the year? No, it's only 100. It's 100 for the year.
It's not $199.
It's 100 for the year. I'm pretty sure it's 100 for the year.
Anyway, check out.
Yeah. They saw you coming a mile away, buddy.
We got the corporate right here.
It's sucker written right across my face.
I want to ask you guys, Earl.
I think, we're talking about yesterday, and you look at the lineup today, they tucked them at the very end for a reason. They're hoping they're not even going to get there. I mean, and could he win? Of course he could. He's had some great moments in some of these matches, but when the wheels come off, as soon as he misses,
does it come off.
His head goes south. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday. It's the last thing I expected out of Earl at this. Everybody expected him to blow up and be confrontational and get into fights and start pecking with fans. He's been so under control, but almost to a detriment. But his confidence is so lost when he misses a shot. You can hear it, on his mic when he's talking to other people saying, I dogged it. I shouldn't be here. You can't say stuff like that and expect to make the next ball.
No, and I think the other side of it is that what it does to the other players on that team who were having to pick him up since day one. Now, I posted something on Windows Open, when Earl was caught on a hot mic saying some of the things that you just mentioned right now. What people don't know is that Earl's been saying this without a hot mic and a camera on him since the beginning, since his very first match. So, I, having friends and talking with a lot of people, this has been an issue. Now can Earl rise up and turn it around? He may have an opportunity, or he may not ever get back to the table because he might have already shot his last ball at the Moscone Cup for his career. Because he may not get in that position. I hope that he can right the wrong, so to speak. But it's been tough to watch. But yeah, at the same time, he's had special spots, and you think, okay, here's where he's going to do it. When he's up 3-0 on Jason, oh my God, man, this is Earl. This is what we hope would happen. And then it's like, oh shit, it's Earl. This is what we thought was going to happen.
Yesterday with Albin, up 2-0, and at the table,
Joey, do you have that video?
No.
At the table with a good chance to run out, and he overthinks a short cut into the side pocket and tries to run it down the rail instead. Shocked everyone. You mentioned, even Jason mentioned it on his interview yesterday. He couldn't believe he didn't just shoot it inside, and he misses that and loses the next 5 games.
We were sitting here in the media room watching, and that's the first thing we said as he's getting down the ball. Oh, he's going on the side. He's coming through. Joey's thinking he's drawing out, but either way, the ball's going on the side, and then he cuts it all the way down, and we're like, why on earth did he shoot that? And then it kind of became an afterthought in the moment until he loses the way that he did, right? Because then you realize how pivotal it was. Alex comes in here, brings it up. Jeremy comes in here, brings it up. Jason comes in here, brings it up. We're at the bar last night, and that's the talk.
Yeah, that was the talk of the bar.
Yeah.
And, one of the takes from that, if you listen to Carl Boyes on the official commentary on that, Carl was saying, oh, he'll just draw the ball back 6 inches and take his medicine. And, I mean, I think that's the shot that 9 guys would have played out there yesterday. And the thought that kind of stuck with me and hit me when I saw that decision, that's not – anybody's going to miss that ball in the corner, right? Anybody can miss that ball. So execution, fine. I get it. The decision was the wrong decision, I think. And it's
that's
easy
the lack of confidence in Earl.
Well, I don't necessarily agree. I think what happened is I really think it was mental fatigue. I think he just made a poor decision. I think from 3 days of being out there in the grease, which he's not used to doing at this stage of his career, I really think he was mentally fatigued, and he just made a bad decision at that time. He got it in his mind that I'm too straight on this ball, and if I draw back, I'm going to be left with a tough shot. But if I cut it in the corner, I'll get perfect shape. And he switched to that decision, and when he did, he never came off it.
You don't see big-time players going for the hero. They go for the guarantee,
Give yourself a chance.
Look
right?
and even guys with elite firepower, the Joshes, the Jasons, they don't let it loose unless they have to let it loose, unless that's the only option. But if not, they settle and they depend on their fundamentals to get them through to be able to get the next one, even though it may be a little bit tougher.
And when we talked about rationalizing Earl being on the team, a lot of the discussion was about the one thing you're going to get with Earl because of his experience and being one of the greatest 9-ball players ever was that he's not going to make the wrong decisions.
Well, he did
right?
yesterday.
That's what you kind of banked on, was that at least this guy's going to make the right decisions. And you're right, it could have been mental fatigue. It could have been lack of, just questioning, just not having the confidence to just go ahead and fire like he's supposed to because he knows it's the right shot. Whichever way it was, it was a bad decision, and that's another thing we just didn't expect out of Earl this week.
When he was partnered with Sky, look at the 8 ball that he missed, right? If you think about it, I remember, I think it was Shane and Earl when they were partnered up. Shane shoots a ball in the corner and leaves Earl a pretty tough shot in the side. It's a routine shot in the side, but on this table, we've seen how the side pockets play. And I remember when Shane stopped the ball, and I'm like, oh boy, he left him this shot. What's going to happen here? Well, Earl steps right up and drills it, and that's Shane having confidence in Earl's ball pocketing. But then, if you go back to the match where Earl and Sky are partnered up, he's got an 8 ball. All he has to do is smooth it in the corner, come 2 rails, nice and easy. He overhits it, ball hangs in the corner, and it's almost like he felt like he needed to get that cue ball so close to the 9 ball for Skyler. And I'm like, this is Sky Woodward in the Moscone Cup. If it's on the table, he's going to make it.
Go watch Shane and Sky play doubles and how little they talked, right? Now they got a lot of they
Yeah.
they can rely on each other. They trust one another, right? They got a lot of history with each other. Now go and watch Shane and Earl play doubles.
Yeah.
Even on a foul shot, right? What's Shane doing? He's grabbing the ball, he's placing it where it needs to go. He's telling Earl, do this, do that. You don't think that wears on you mentally, knowing that you gotta kind of hold his hand a little bit and walk him through it? Now that's just Shane, that's kind of Shane's responsibility, because I'm sure he had a big say in Earl getting on the team. At least we know he did last year.
Yeah.
But imagine the rest of them. I watched that match with Earl and Sky. Sky is always so happy-go-lucky and doesn't have a care in the world, and nothing fades him. If he's down 4-0 or up 4-0, you never know, because he looks the exact same way. Go watch his face when he's playing with Earl, and watch how the life just gets sucked out of him. And I'm not trying to beat the guy. I'm just saying what I've seen over 3 days.
We got to talk about it, right? We have to talk about it. I got a text message. I don't know if I shared this yet on the show, but I got a text message from my wife yesterday, who doesn't even follow pool except for the Moscone Cup. She watches the Moscone Cup. She sends me a text message and she says, Earl is a liability for the U.S.
Your wife doesn't watch pool.
She doesn't watch pool at all, except the Moscone Cup. She sends me a text, Earl's a liability. And then she says, I'm not talking about his play. I'm talking about the drain he is on the rest of the team, constantly having to cheerlead and pick him up in between games and be attentive. And, it just seems like there's some instability there, that team needs to be there to lift him up all the time.
The team has become David Alcade having to wet nurse Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. We talked about that beforehand as being,
but David didn't have to do anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what we talked about before the event. Now, as it turns out, the wet nurse has to be entire Team USA hand-holding Earl and trying to talk him off the ledge. It's going to be questioned after this, win or lose for Team USA. Yeah, it's going to be questioned going forward about.
Jeremy knows
the right decision.
Jeremy came in here right away, and he's a very aware guy, sharp guy, not just from being a captain, but just in sports in general. And he knew it was ballsy, and he's not one to not take ownership, because that's just the kind of guy that Jeremy Jones is. But listen, it's 6-8 right now. USA is not out of it. They got a decent chance with this lineup, I feel like, to get right back in it. The place can come back alive. Then you're going to see what the Europeans are made of. That first match is going to be pretty big. I want to know who's going to be playing against what we think is going to be Sky and Shane. And it's going to be such a massive point, because then the pressure's not going to be on Sky, I feel like, at 6-7. Oh no, I'm sorry, 8-7. And with David, because you don't know what you're going to get out of David in the Moscone Cup. He's been so hot or cold. But I bet you this crowd's going to let him know if he misses a ball.
Yeah, I'm looking at predictions today, and all along, my heart's with the USA. Always has been, and I've wanted the team to do well.
Like
I'm a homer. It's fine. I just can't see him looking at this lineup that Europe has up here, even though I think this is the best case scenario for the U.S. in terms of matchups. I don't see him getting past 9. I hope I'm wrong about that, but if I'm coming with a prediction, it's 11-9 Europe.
That's what I would. That's if I had to predict. That's what I would say. But I would also say I can see it being 9-9 with 2 matches to go.
Wow, that would be fun.
But if it's 9-9 with 2 matches to go, Team Europe's got to like where they're sitting.
Come on,
except then the crowd becomes, such an
huge
X factor at that point that, you will find out whether Sanchez Ruiz is ready to fade Mosconi Cup as a rookie, because it would be intense. But it would also be intense on Oscar, and then if it got to Earl and Albin,
All right, I'm gonna give you one with my heart, and I'm gonna give you one with my head. With my heart, I'm gonna say it's gonna be 11-10 USA. With I think the USA wins the first 4, they lose the last 2 on this screen right here, and I think they come out winning with Sky defeating Jason at Hill.
Wow, I don't even know if I can handle that.
That's what I think is going to happen. I think they win the first 4, they get to 10. It's 10-8 USA. They lose the next 2, and then it's going to be Hill. That's what my heart hopes. Now, what my head tells me from watching Europeans and Americans play over the last few years, I think it's going to be 11-9 Team Europe.
Yeah. So do we all agree that there is no front runner really for MVP at this point? Today we'll decide that.
Yeah,
For the Europeans, Mike, what do you think?
Either
Well-
team. I
Well,
think.
but the Europeans are up 2 points. At the,
yeah,
you
they're
know,
up 2 points, and it's got to favor Jason or Josh because they're playing in more matches
right?
than anyone else. So the fans' choice kind of skews the MVP discussion in a way because it gives a couple of players an advantage on number of opportunities. So you're still, to me, looking at either Jason or Josh.
If it does end up at 9-9 and you have those pivotal games at the end, let's say Europe takes it, is there any chance FSR Albin gets it?
Well, the MVP for Moscone is a strict points system. It's not a
I
who
see.
saved the day type of thing. So it's strictly going to be a numbers game.
I think it ought to be, some voting. 'Cause,
Yeah.
big spots matter in the Moscone Cup.
That's right.
Not just.
Well, they did that for a while. It was kind of a little bit of. There were a couple of years where it was kind of a vote thing, but it's
It's always tough.
three guys in a back room, kind of deciding who they think was the
Yeah.
best. So if you don't have a system really in place of voters, then
you know what I'd like to
have
see?
just
Have
go by
the
points.
losing team pick the MVP because they'll tell you who played more clutch.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
I guarantee you they will. Yeah, I mean, from a number standpoint, it's going to be between Jason and Josh, I feel like. But I think if Josh comes out in that first doubles, then he would have had a better opportunity than Jason because we know for a fact Jason will not be playing until match 3. And if they win the first 2, they got Jason can close them out. I don't think Albin's kind of been, which is crazy. He's kind of been an afterthought, one way or the other. But we know how dangerous he can be. David, as great as he played against Tyler's, got zero chance. Fran's actually been, pretty, like a pillar of the team. He's been fairly consistent, and has come clutch, I feel like, as well. But if you're Team USA,
It's got to be Skyler.
Oh,
If
yeah.
it's strict points. It's got to be Skyler at this point, right? I think so.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he would be in the fans' choice, assumedly. If he wins that one, that's a point. If he wins that singles match afterwards, which I think he pretty much has to do for the U.S. to win, right? So.
We got some comments in here. Let's see here.
I like Jenny Ann's comment that Laley should get the MVP for putting up with Team Europe's antics. That's funny.
Well, he's kind of been at the front of some of those antics too. So
the crazy part for me is that for many years, and like when they say, "Oh, it's a TV show," and it is a TV show, but having talked to a lot of these guys off air, they all want to win really badly.
Really bad.
Like, I mean, in their core, Alex talking about yesterday, like he's feeling the pressure in his gut, and he's on the winning side up until this point, right?
Mhm.
And he's still feeling it. Imagine what the rest of those USA players are. Oscar being friends with some of the Spaniards, he's like, we ain't talking this week. We're not friends right now.
Yeah.
Tyler saying, I'm not even looking at one of these guys. Everybody wants to win. The Americans got a lot of pride. The Europeans are expected to dominate there or here. I'm excited for the last day. I hope it does get Hill, and Emily in all her glory will love it as well. And
Inner sequence.
yeah. But I don't know, boys. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how Oscar's going to play if it comes down to a pivotal match there against FSR. I think he's had flashes where he's played really well.
Yep.
But then he had that 6-ball yesterday, which I know he wants to have back. And it was really unusual because I thought he was stroking the balls really good. He's pocketing the balls really well. And then he shoots that 6-ball, and it was just, you could tell it right as soon as he hit that ball that it wasn't going in. And so I'd love to see it come down to those final 2 matches of the day. I know Pinozzo's saying that we need to win it before that last match for the USA.
That would be ideal.
But imagine that storyline with everything that's happened with Earl through this entire event, and then he comes back and he wins the case game. Would that be unreal?
Yeah, I mean, you all dream Hollywood, right?
Yeah,
you dream
that's Hollywood
stuff, and that's what you want to see happen.
Sports,
but,
Mike.
If it does get to those last couple matches, as I said before, at that point, then you're going to find out what 2,500 fans on your side means, and if it can really shake, some of those European players in their boots. I mean, and you're talking about Francisco. If it's 8-8, or 9-9, and Francisco's playing, he's gonna know what it feels like.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I mean, to be fair, Oscar's going to know what it feels like too.
Yeah.
But at least he knows they're on his side.
Right, but then there's also a lot of pressure too.
Of course.
And
of course.
let me know, like Joey said, he's had moments where he's been dependable, and then that 6 ball was really rough. But then again, Jason was just breaking, like King Kong, and that's tough to fade at the Moscone Cup as well, especially with all the emotions and knowing. And not only that, but you've been on ice the entire day as well. If if Europe's at 10 and it's Earl, I mean, it could look really bad, or it could look really good. There's so many hypotheticals here.
I think one storyline here for just overall this Moscone Cup is I think it's an event this year where the United States has proven that they're capable of hanging with Europe. The last 2 years, it didn't feel that way. The last 2 years, it felt like they weren't really hanging with them. Like they were outclassed.
Yeah,
the Americans, for sure. They don't feel like that this year, though.
They were ahead after 2 days last year.
Yeah, I
know. And they weren't ahead after 2 days this year, but it was. You're right. It was completely different. It was completely different.
Once that train,
you were
got
waiting
going,
for the other. You were waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
At that point on them. But this year, you just feel like match to match, they know that they're still in this.
And I think that bodes well for the future. I think,
100%.
Especially with the way Skylar and Tyler are playing, and even Shane, who often struggles in this event. I think he's playing really well. You take those 3 as like your foundation for building a team over the next several years, and I think they're going to compete with Europe a lot closer each year.
I said at the beginning that if Sky can be who he's always been, it'll take the pressure off of Shane, and Shane can really be dangerous. And I think it's proven that this event, because Sky has really, he just is massively clutch, and they're not depending on Captain America. Captain America, we haven't even talked to him all week long, and he's played solid the entire event. Mm-hmm. I think Tyler's the new number 1 in the USA when it comes to the Moscone Cup. Now, Shane's always going to be, the number 1 player when it comes to tournament play, right? But we just know that Sky is just built for this. Yeah. I think if we don't know how it would have been if Earl would have been on the team, we'll never know. But I agree with you. There's things to take away that are for the positive, but I still think they got a special opportunity to steal one. And I agree with you, because I don't think the Europeans think they're stealing today. I think they know they have to close.
Dogfight.
They have to close. But
they have to close early. Because
why? If you got Oscar and Earl sitting on the back end, if you're the Europeans,
right. But if you get to that back end, that means you've lost at least 3 out of the first 4,
and the crowd.
So now your team's starting to have some doubt. They're starting to get a little bit nervous, a little bit edgy.
You can't write a better story.
Yeah, you lose 3 out of those first 4, or all 4 of the first 4, and you're under a lot of heat. So like then it's not a head-to-head.
Yeah, but you're under a lot of heat with the number 1 9-ball player on earth in Francisco, or Josh, or the guy who had the best year a couple years ago in Albin, and was won a major this year. Like, you're under all that heat, but you got guys who have been in those spots before. You got MVP, you got guys with hardware, guys with trophies, right?
Yeah,
guys
but
with
look at the way
championships.
this is playing out.
This is not the U.S. Open. This isn't the World Championship.
Yeah.
This is a different animal.
Albin can play in the Moscone Cup.
He can.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Look at the way it's playing out, though. U.S. coming out strong. Presumably, they can win the first few. They can get kind of on the board here and get back in this. And then Europe coming with their stronger lineup at a time when the crowd is going to be insane, right? Because they're coming back in this. So, guys, this is going to be fun. We got
it's already getting rowdy out there. I got to run, y'all.
Getting rowdy. We got to get out of here. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got 350 people across all the platforms. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. Make sure to hit them up. And, guys, we'll be back in later and hopefully celebrating a USA victory. So.